Pop up around the edges as I talk about them. So if I see anything about like a Connect Pro or a B10X or something like that, you'll probably see that pop up. You can click on that and get a little bit more information about what it is that we're talking about if you're curious as about like triggers and modifiers and stuff like that, especially as we start talking about umbrellas and whatnot. Maybe you want some information on shapes and sizes. You can just click on that. The video will stay up there so you can kind of watch the video and also learn some stuff. If you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter watching this, you're not going to get that experience. If you want it, head over to ProPhoto.com. It's pretty sweet. We have a chat there. We're also chatting with you on, oh, it says no sound. Someone says,
we're good.
We're good now? Yep. Okay, cool. I'm trying to follow along with all this stuff. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube and you want that experience, come check us out on ProPhoto.com. That being said, let's jump into what we're talking about today. So we're going to be rolling another video like we did last week of us outside. The subject this week is how to take your flash and you blend it with your ambient light. So a lot of people don't like the look of flash because they say it looks too flashy. Generally what that means is too contrasty. So I'm going to show you a technique that I use to take my flash and make it look like it doesn't really even exist in the scene. It's just this really awesome way to add a little bit of something extra, a little bit of kick to your light or to your photograph that you wouldn't have gotten with just natural light or without natural light and a bunch of post-processing. But it still is incredibly natural feeling. And I'll explain to you the entire technique. We are going to roll the video now, and I'll be here in the chat too. So if you have any questions in the chat, I'll be chatting along with you. And then if you have any questions at the end of the video, we'll be right back here to take your questions. So that being said, Kate, let's roll that bad boy. Hey everybody, welcome to another Geared Up on Location. Today, we're gonna be talking about how to take your flash and make it look like it doesn't even exist, like it just blends into the background. And we're gonna be doing that with Kate, per usual, out here in this beautiful park here in Georgia. So let's talk about the things that you want to pay attention to first to make sure that this technique works great for you. So the very first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is we're not cross-lighting our subject. So essentially cross-lighting just means that if you are the sun, or let's say you are my flash and the sun is directly behind me, you don't want them to be exactly opposite of one another, because when the light is coming from this direction and this direction, having two light sources makes it pretty obvious that it's a flash. So you want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. So cross lighting, if you're trying to make your flash look natural, pretty big no-no. The second thing you want to do is you want to choose a nice big soft modifier. It could be an umbrella, it could be a large softbox or octabox, something that's going to help that light really wrap. And we want to do that because, again, we don't want it to look like there's a second light source there. We want that light source to look like it's coming from the same direction. So first, again, we want to make sure that we're not cross-lighting and that we want to use a big soft light source. Where do we put the light then if we can't cross-light it? So the rule of thumb is keep the light on the same side that the actual sun's coming from. So right now it's about 11 o'clock in the morning here in the south. The sun is getting pretty high in the sky, but it's still off to my right just a little bit. So where we live, the sun kind of comes up over here and it goes that way. So it's still over here, I said to my left, but I mean to my right. So it's off to my right just a little bit, but it's still pretty high up in the sky. So that lets us know that we want to place our light on this side of the subject because that's where the light is coming from. Again, because we're using a big soft modifier, we just want it to look like that light is coming from the same direction and just wrapping a little bit, right? So that's why I chose a deep white umbrella large. I went with the white finish interior because it's really soft edge to edge. It's really natural looking. It's not super directional. It's a really beautiful light source. The third thing that we're going to want to do is we want to make sure that our camera shutter speed isn't set to the ambient being too low. Like we want to bring the ambient light up some so the shot's not too contrasty. One of the biggest things that people hate about flash photography, or that you hear people talk about that they hate about flash photography, is they hate how flashy it looks. And generally, I found that what people mean by flashy, they mean contrasty. So they don't like that the background is super dark, but the light is super bright. Now, that's not to say that if you're trying to take some cool, super epic shot, that maybe you shouldn't really overpower the sun and really make your subject pop and bring down the background. That's for a different type of thing. If you're looking to just make your flash look like it doesn't exist, but add a little bit of sparkle that the shot didn't have beforehand, this is the technique we're talking about. So again, before we start shooting here in a second, let's talk about the things we want to pay attention to. Do not cross light. Bring your light from the same side as the sun's coming from. So again, for me, sun is up and to the right. So we're going to bring our light a little bit up and from the right. So we can bring it around a little bit more. You just don't want it to get in front of your subject to start feeling like a cross light. So we're going to bring that light over to the side a little bit more. Cool stuff. Then we're going to use a big, huge modifier so it doesn't have as much directionality, so it doesn't feel like a separate light source. Again, it just feels like the sun is just wrapping around our subject, which is really, really cool. And then we're going to try to bring the ambient light up again and make sure that we're not too contrasty. So really, really easy stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off the flash. We're gonna put Kate into place, turn off the flash. Do you want to do like a picture-in-picture type setup or something like that, or should we just stay to the wide shot for a second while you set up?
Let's just save the wide and then show the images afterwards.
Okay, so we'll stay to the wide shot, and I'll show you. We'll flip through the camera, or we'll flip through the photo feed, and I'll show you the shot that's too contrasty, where we bring it back up, and then what it looks like when we add a little bit of fill into it. We're also going to be using the technique that we talked about in a previous live, where we pick our aperture and our ISO, then we let our ambient, we use our shutter speed to set our ambient, what we want our ambient to look like with a shutter speed, and we take a TTL shot and lock it down into manual mode. We did that on a previous live. Hopefully you got the chance to see that one. If you didn't, you should go back and watch it. It's a really awesome way of getting set up on location. So that being said, let's have Kate come in and let's start the photo process. Ready to rock and roll, Kate? Perfect.
Oh my gosh,
We almost took out some cables.
got some cables.
All good. We made it. We're
all good.
we're still alive.
Let me check audio. Check that.
Kate almost just destroyed the whole thing.
You know, I just took the whole thing down.
She's very excited.
I'm like a thunderbolt.
We're outside and she's very excited. She likes being outside.
Hey guys.
Hey, hoo-ha.
All right.
So again, I'm gonna turn the light off to make sure that we don't have anything infiltrating, and I'm gonna take a couple of shots just so you can kind of see what the light looks like at different shutter speeds. So if we were going a lot of people will try to bring down the background to try to get the sky to come back into the shot so they don't blow it out. But the problem is you wind up getting shots, and I know you can't see it, I'll bring it up in a second, but the problem is you start getting shots that are really, really dark. Are you set up the way you?
All right. Ready for me?
Yeah. So you start getting really, really dark shots. Something like this right here. And again, I'll show you that here in just a second. But what we want to actually do is we want to use our shutter speed, and we want to take that shutter speed and we want to increase it so that the background starts to come up in the shot. We don't want it to be overexposed. We don't want to blow it out too much, but we do want it to almost feel like a natural light shot, because all we're going to do is we're going to take the flash and we're just going to kind of kiss it into the scene. So that shot looks something like this. It's a really pretty natural light shot. It's really nice, but we want to add a little bit of flash. We want to add a little bit of sparkle to the shot. So we're going to take the camera and we're going to flip. First and foremost, we need to turn the light on. So let's turn the light on. And then I'm going to take this gray card over to Kate. The flash is on. And then I'm going to, in TTL mode on my trigger, I'm going to, yeah, it's probably going to be hard to see. In TTL mode.
Oh, towards the
yep,
light.
towards the light. Could you go to the other hand or flip over to me a little bit more? Yeah, your hand's kind of in the gray. So we want to try to make sure we're keeping it all in the gray card, and we're going to take a shot.
Towards the light.
Boom. And so you'll see the gray card shot pop up here in a second. And from there, we're simply just going to hit auto on our Connect Pro, and our flash is set the way we want to. So this is going to be a nice, subtle light. I have a feeling I'm probably going to bring this light up a little bit myself to where I want, but in the meantime, Here we go. You ready, Kate? So here is the shot with just a little bit of a kiss of light. 3, 2, 1. Really, really beautiful. Now I think I'm gonna bring it up about a stop, maybe a stop and a half. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. That's awesome. So really, really beautiful shot.
Can we pull the shots?
Yeah, you can pull up the shots now. So again, they're hold on, let's make sure that they took, because yeah, we're here.
1, 2, 3.
Cool. So now let's talk about the images now. So the first shot that we were talking about where it's super contrasty would be something like this, to where you're trying to keep the blue in the back in the sky right here. And the problem with that is it's going to start feeling, super contrasty, really flashy. I did take a shot with the flash just so you kind of see by adding in the flash what that would be. And again, it's not bad. And if this is the look that you're going for, it's really pretty shot. It's very contrasty, and it looks like there's a light lighting her that doesn't match this. Now, whereas if we go here to where we brought that ambient light up, where I was talking about, we went to a little bit slower shutter speed to bring that ambient light up. Now, as we start to add the flash in, just so you can see, here's that gray card shot that I was telling you about. So that's the gray card shot. And then, so now we'll compare them side by side. There's the shot right there with that little bit of flash added back in. So they're the exact same settings. Other than that, we're f1.8, we're at ISO 160 and a shutter speed of 250th of a second, which is awesome. But we've just kissed in a little bit of flash just to add a little bit of pop to the scene. Honestly, it's quite beautiful. And then I decided that I wanted to bump the power up just a little bit, just to make it sparkle just a little bit more. And then there it is. So that's just with a subtle bump in the power output. I think that's about a stop, maybe a stop and a tenth, I think. Yeah, because we work in tenth of the stops. So somewhere around a stop more than the TTL setting. So this right here was the shot straight out of the camera with no flash. This is the first shot that we did after we took that gray card shot, where we, again, set our camera settings, took a gray card shot in TTL mode, and then flipped back into manual mode, and we were rocking and rolling. And then while we were in manual mode right here, I decided that I wanted a little bit more sparkle in that shot. And so what we did is we just added a little bit more flash. And it looks really, really beautiful. It looks insanely natural. I mean, Kate, does it even look like there's a flash in the shot?
No, it looks so beautiful.
Yeah, it's subtle. And again, you could take a really, really beautiful natural light shot, and it looks really, really nice. And you could post-process it, and you could do a lot of really, really good stuff to it. But if you just take maybe a little bit more time, put a flash right where it needs to be, you can get a really, really awesome shot. So let's flip back over here and just, again, talk about how we set these, all this stuff up really fast, just so you can get a quick refresher. We'll show you the photos one more time. Yeah, whatever one you think. I'm just going to show them the stuff. So again, what we wanted to do is we went with a big soft modifier so we wouldn't get any directionality out of things, so it didn't look like a second light, and we placed it on the same side as the sun. We have a little bit of cloud coming over right now, so you can't see it as much, but we put it on the same side as the sun, so that way it feels like it's this nice big sweeping light that's doing this nice wrap job. Now, if you were to take this light and put it over here to where it's the opposite side from Kate or from your subject, it's going to cross light. It's not going to feel natural. There's going to be a light coming from this direction and a light coming from this direction. But because we kept that light on the same side and we let it sweep, it looks really, really natural. And then we used our shutter speed to bring that ambient light up to keep the contrast down, and just kissed a little bit of light into the scene, and the photos on the screen are exactly what you get from that. So again, back at the screen, we have the very first shot, which is going to be the shot of just the ambient light. The second shot with the flash set to the power that is dictated off the gray card. And then the third shot is just something that I wanted to add a little bit more in there and just make it pop just a touch more. So that being said, really easy technique for getting beautiful, natural looking shots with your flash on location that look a little bit more polished than you would have by just taking some natural light shots. So it's, again, a really, really easy technique. that being said, I hope you got a lot out of this live. It's really, really fun for myself. I think Kate had some fun. Yeah. And, barring any technical difficulties, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. But it was really, really awesome. If you want to see any more stuff like this, let us know. But in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your day. Oh, Kate's coming in. Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good one. It's really, really simple. It's I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite lighting techniques to use on location. I generally tend to love. Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. I generally tend to love trying not to make my flash feel like it's there. So again, using this technique to blend it in with the background. It's, like I said, it's just one of my favorites. I use I don't know if I explained it. I can't remember if I explained it in the video or not, but I use the big white umbrella just because it's not super directional. It's a really even light edge to edge. So it does a really good job of kind of broadcasting all this light forward and not giving off any hot spots, stuff like that. You can do the same thing with like a big octa, like a 3-foot octa, or you can take a 4-foot octa with you on location or something like that. It'd be really, really good for something like that. But yeah, you just want to make sure that the thing that you're using is a nice soft light. That way, again, you're not seeing the second light starting to show up. If you use something like a hard light, I guess depending on where you placed it. So like if you decided to use like a bare bulb or like a zoom reflector or something like that, depending on where you placed it, you probably run into some extra shadows that are cast that might kind of give away the fact that there's another light there. And that's why I say stick with the big soft modifier, move it to the same side that the light's coming from, and kind of just let it sweep around the subject, which is kind of cool. Let me see if you guys have any questions. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, someone said they find the bright sky distracting. I understand that, and it can be. You can do something. You can use like a graduated filter for that or something like that if you wanted. The only reason that I say if you think about how most people take a natural light shot, unless you're just letting the sun light the subject where you can start to bring the whole ambient light down because you're getting a lot of light out of the sun. A lot of times natural light shots, people slow the shutter speed down to expose for the person properly. And what happens is when you do that, the sky starts to blow out. I'm sorry?
Someone said, would diffusion help?
Would diffusion help? So diffusion on the light, if you're talking about diffusion on the light, because of the white umbrella, not necessarily. I mean, if you wanted it to be a little more even, I don't think it's uneven here. I have the photos right here. We can pull up. Hang on just one second. Let me make sure I have all the good ones side by side. We have this one, and this one. I mean, if you look at the three images, they're not. I don't necessarily know that diffusion would have solved anything here, at least for me, just because it's not showing any like hot spots. Like the light looks pretty even in and of itself. But if you're using, like, say if you're using a silver umbrella, yeah, I would probably throw some diffusion on there just to make sure that you knock down some of the specularity and that you even out the light a little bit more. But because I chose to use the white umbrella, it's not that big of a deal. Same thing if you're using a shoot-through umbrella, you probably don't need, a shoot-through umbrella is just a bunch of diffusion. But silver umbrella, I probably would have used diffusion, but with the white umbrella, I didn't feel like I needed it. But again, teach their own.
Do you have an image that demonstrates the difference between the cross light?
I did. You know what? I didn't even think about taking a cross light image, and I apologize. I should have. I should have taken a cross light image. I failed you, and I beg for forgiveness. But it's just know that like the way that the shadows would have fallen, it wouldn't have looked the exact same. There would have been like right now where kind of like the tree shadows are over here and stuff like that, and you kind of see everything broadcasting. The shadows on Kate would have been the other direction, which is the thing again that starts to tell that the light is coming, that one light's coming from one way and another light's coming from the another way. So I'll remember that for next time to take a photo of the thing that I'm saying don't do, right? We're trying not to talk to Kate too much. Her voice is a little weak today, so usually we're bantering right now. But I don't have that. there. Let's see. Someone asked me what white balance I was using. I believe that I was just set to, I think it was, hold on, let's check my information, see if it's there. Come here. Where's the, so I upgraded to the new Capture One, and I don't know where all my stuff is. Is it Refine? No. I'm not sure what my white balance set to. I generally either, oh, you know what? I have my camera right here. I have my white balance either set to flash, and now that's one of our video cameras. Normally I have my white balance either set to flash or I have it set to auto white balance. Normally I leave it on, is my camera right here? I took my camera out for something and I can't remember. Oh, I set it down over here. Sorry, I can tell you exactly what my white balance was. So we were at, go to Q, white balance. So I had it set to a custom white balance, 5,900. So it's so I had it set to balance out the actual flash itself. So 5,900, so close to daylight. So it was a custom Kelvin.
Someone was saying that some of bringing it up and pitched out some of the highlights in the background. Is that salvageable?
So it depends on.
Repeat it.
So someone was asking. So with some of the lights in the sun essentially coming through the background, coming through the trees, it blows it out. Is it salvageable? Sometimes it isn't. Like, let's go here to the natural light shot. Because and the reason, again, I'm going to go to the natural light version of the shot, because the reason that I say this is the reason that I say that sometimes you have to give up these highlights or use a graduated filter, something to bring those down, is because if you were normally shooting just a natural light shot like this, in order to get your subject exposed properly, and honestly, she's even a little bit dark in this, to get your subject exposed properly, you're going to lose these highlights unless you're, again, using a graduated filter. So that's why I kind of tend to give up the sky a little bit. I just do. But depending on your camera's dynamic range, you could bring back some of it. I mean, that's probably about as much as I can bring back before it starts to kind of artifact really weird and kind of turn this weird orange color. But I mean, the sky is blown out, like it just is. You could also crop it. I think for the final image, I cropped it some. I think here, let's I believe for the final image, I cropped it down some, so it looks more like this. So it's still a little blown out here at the top, but that really big white spot at the top was gone. But yeah, I lost the sky. It was a creative decision that I made. So
is the gray card step essential?
Is the gray card step essential? Like, it's just, so someone was asking me, so I take that picture with the gray card. So if you watched our video or our live last week, I showed you how I use the TTL settings to get set up really, really quick. And the gray card just is something that makes the process a little simpler. Another person was asking, why use the gray card? Why can't meter for the proper exposure and fixed white balance and post need. So the only reason that I use the gray card is for one, sometimes people don't like you to photograph their face really, really close. This person right here, she gets really upset with me whenever I come in really tight and photograph her face, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the TTL exposure for her skin tone. So in order to mitigate some of that stuff, I just use a gray card now. So now she can hold a gray card up on her face, towards her face. I can expose for the light right there. TTL is trying to make the scene 18% gray anyway, which is what the gray card is. So it's just an easy thing to do. And because I did that, I can now just use my color picker for the setting my white balance if I need to. You don't have to. You can shoot the person's skin tone. The reason that I go in so close is because I want the TTL exposure to be specifically for what I want. So like if you were going to photograph me, I would tell you to come in really close and try to only get like the side of my face lit for the TTL exposure. That way it's not looking at the fact that I'm wearing, a relatively dark hat and I'm wearing a black shirt and stuff like that. And then it's going to overexpose it. So it's all TTL is trying to do is take everything that it sees, make it 18% gray. You could use spot meter. That helps some, but sometimes it sees other things and it doesn't like it very much. So I just try to mitigate as much as possible. It could just be that I don't trust my camera that much. Or I don't trust any camera. Maybe I have trust issues, but at least with cameras. But yes, I generally tend to go in a little bit tighter. Let's see. What's up, everybody? Hey. And yeah, somebody asked me what white balance I used. That's the thing I answered for the camera. But so I was at 5900 Kelvin.
Do you do this with A1X?
Can I do it with an A1X? You can do this with any flash. So whenever I go on location, I generally bring one light, and I usually bring a B10X Plus or the B10 Plus or something like that, something with 500 watts of power. I generally just have it in case I need it because I have access to it. But honestly, I think we were shooting at a really low power. I don't think I said it in the video, but we were probably, because we weren't even in high speed sync for the actual shot itself. So we were probably in the like 3 power range on that light, which means, no, I actually specifically remember I bumped the power up whenever I went up to one stop. I bumped it up to like 2.5. Like we were crazy low. Sorry, Kate's confirming for me where we were, but yeah, we were super low. And so, we're almost at the lowest power setting of the B10X Plus. So you could have easily done this with an A2 or an A1X and it had just as much power on the top end if you needed to turn it up. So it just depends on how you use your light. I think you just have to understand when you like to shoot, and how your light and how you like to shoot as far as like, do you want something? So like if I go to the screen here, where we had, and I think she blinked in the shot, but like if you like something, let's get rid of these really fast. Like if you like the more contrasty style, something like this, and you know that you're going to wind up having to kind of kick up into high speed sync. So this isn't as overexposed. You could definitely recover this if you wanted to. If you like the more contrasty look, just know that you might have to go into high speed sync. And that you might have to, you might need a little bit more power for something like that. Whereas here with the natural light look, I was able to keep my shutter speed relatively low and out of high speed sync. So I had a ton of headroom as far as my lighting goes. So any light will work for this. I always choose the B10X or the B10 Plus whenever I go on location, because I just like to kind of cover my butt just to make sure that I have the power if I need it. Any other questions? No? Cool. So this is super fun. So let's see. If people don't like the sky, then they should set the ambient exposure for the sky and expose the flash for the person. Yes, and you can do that. So you can. This is all that we did here. Appreciate that, Dan. This is all we did right here. I just looked at my ambient exposure. I pulled down the light for the sky. But just understand that you may need either more light coming this direction from your flash. You might need an even bigger modifier, or you might need a second soft light to kind of start to bring these shadows up even more to make it kind of start to feel a little more natural. But it's just one of those things you're going to have to experiment. So if you want to save this sky, you're going to have to either add another light or bring in something a little bit bigger, or just get creative with it, or bring in an extra reflector to bring some more light into it. So it's just, again, think of your personal style, how you like to shoot, and, just so that I've given you the information you need to accomplish this. This is essentially what I'm trying to do. Tell you, why I chose the types of modifiers I chose for this and why it works so well, light placement and why it works so well, and then kind of how I set my camera and how it works so well. Again, sometimes you have to give up something to get something. So in order to get that natural light look, I had to give up the sky, which is what a lot of natural light shooters have to give up whenever they're trying to shoot natural light with the person. But because I was able to add a little bit of flash in there, I have a shot that, looks a little more polished here than just a straight natural light shot would have looked by itself. So Really cool stuff. I see a couple of things. Someone they're traveling to the Philippines, want to keep the gear light. 100% understand. An A10, A2, all that stuff. Even just, if you have a B10 already and you want to keep it light that way, that works really, really good. How could you add a second light to blend it to separate the subject from the background even more without showing flash? So again, you're going to have to keep, again, a big modifier, and you're going to have to probably continue the wrap. So whereas here, let's just go here to the shot. Get these out. So you're probably going to have this light here, which is where this one's at. And you're probably going to have to bring a light somewhere around here and obviously back it up so it's out of frame. So you're going to need a bigger modifier. And granted, I'm spitballing this. I've never experimented with this. This is just in my brain how I think that I would start to tackle this. But I would start with this large here, and I would probably honestly right here, backed up a little bit, start bringing in, or I actually might even put it right above my camera. So I was actually shooting relatively low, so I'd probably put it right above my camera, up a little bit, big XL wide umbrella. So again, try to keep the directionality down, and then just start to bring this extra shadowing up here. So try to keep this exposure where it's at, and then use the XL to start kind of bringing some light here onto her side and to her back, and then even maybe a little bit into the tree to try to help that kind of come up a little bit more. But that's how I would do it. At least that's where I would start attempting to do it. And then I'm sure that I would probably have to make some adjustments on the fly. And maybe this is another live that we need to cover. Maybe we need to start talking about, it sounds like we need to do a video where maybe we go back to the same spot. Hey, I could take the cross light shot. Yeah. So, and then maybe we could start doing the same thing, how to blend the flash rear ambient with multiple lights. And we could save the sky and do all kinds of other stuff. So we can get advanced with it. So, but for this lesson, keeping it simple is kind of the way that I wanted to do it. And that's where we are with these shots right here. So hopefully that was some cool information. Someone said, Kaya, Greg, I was thinking about only traveling with an A2 or an A10. I think you'd be fine with either of those. There's a lot of people who do tons of stuff with just the A10s and umbrellas and stuff like that. They're really, really beautiful. My buddy John David went to Kenya with just, I think, his A1, and he did all this stuff, but that was pretty sick. But yeah, cool. This was super fun. Hopefully you learned a lot about this technique. It's a really fun technique to use. I personally love the light, the photo, the blown out exposure doesn't bother me that much, but it's photography is objective, to each their own. But I've given you all the information you need to take an awesome shot. So hopefully you learn some cool stuff. In the meantime, I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. Hit up Anders or myself for a one-on-one breakout session. If you want to talk to us one-on-one, you're more than welcome to. That's on Profoto.com. And have an awesome rest of your week. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.